In this video, you'll learn all about fitness tests for older adults. In more detail, here's what you can expect to learn. First, we'll identify why is exercise important for older adults besides just looking good and general function. Then we'll talk about a few different fitness tests like the 30-second chair stand test, a test for grip strength, an aerobic endurance test, the 6-minute walk test, the ability to get up from the floor, an upper body strength test, and flexibility tests. Do they really matter? And how much carryover do they have to general function? And then you'll also be presented with normative data. How do you compare it to other people of your age? And then if you're below average, what can you do? You'll get some concrete action steps in this video. Before we dive in, who am I? My name is Igor. I'm the author of 13 books on exercise and nutrition, including 4 Amazon bestsellers. As well, I've been a personal trainer since 2006 with a specialty in older adults, and I've been teaching my methodology of how to train older adults by speaking at other personal training conferences since 2013. And I've delivered over 400 wellness presentations to some of Canada's largest corporations, including IBM, Bosch, American Express, University of Toronto, Investors Group, and others. If you want to learn when I publish more videos about exercise, nutrition, and fitness for older adults, click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So let's talk about why is exercise important for older adults. The first most obvious reason is more strength. And strength in older years is very different than strength in younger years. In younger years, to go from strong to stronger doesn't make a huge difference. To go from frail to average makes a huge difference. Also, more endurance, depending on the kind of exercise you do. Is it cardio or strength training? You also have better energy levels if it takes you less energy to get throughout the day. It's tapping less of your reserves. You also have a much lower risk of falling and breaking a bone because you have better balance, better strength, and a better ability to pull yourself up if you do fall. You also have higher bone density. So in the less likely event that even if you do fall, you're less likely to break or fracture a bone. You'll also have better blood sugar control, which I explain the connection between strength training and diabetes in my other videos. You'll also have lower blood pressure and greater heart health. All great benefits to exercise in older adults. But that's not it. That's not everything. There's more. You can also have a lower risk of disability. In other words, if you do need to go to the hospital, you'll have a faster recovery from whatever ails you. And you'll have a lower need for medications, along with the side effects that come with a lot of those medications, like muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, and so on. Now, let's actually talk about the fitness tests that are out there for older adults. The first test we'll talk about is the 30-second chair stand test. It's also called the sit to stand test. It's a very simple test. You sit on a regular couch or chair, and then you stand up. You do that as many times as you can in 30 seconds. If you're wondering, what's the purpose of this test? Well, it's to measure your risk of falling. How does your data compare to those of other people your age? Well, here's the normative data from the Centers for Disease Control. I'm not going to go through this one by one. So if you like, pause the video and look at your age, compare that to the number of times you can get up and get down and up from your chair in 30 seconds. Next, what does it mean if you're below average? Well, first of all, it means your risk of falling is higher. And as a result, your risk of breaking a bone is higher. Now, when you break a bone, sometimes, always, you need to go to the hospital. But if it's a lower body bone, you'll have a prolonged stay at the hospital. If you have a prolonged stay at the hospital, it'll really limit your mobility. So you might not be able to walk. You'll need a cane, a walker, a wheelchair, etc. And that will really impair your quality of life because you'll need help from other people to get around for things like getting off your chair, getting out of a toilet, and so on. And this is a very realistic case scenario for people who are frail and they break a bone. It's not a good few years coming up for them if that's the case. On the other hand, somebody who falls and doesn't break a bone, well, it's just a bruise. They just need some muscle relaxants, and that's basically it. The difference is significant. Now, what can you do if you are below average? Stay tuned because we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Next, grip strength. It's one of the most important tests you can do, and it's a very simple device. It's called a hand grip dynamometer. Almost every gym has one. You just squeeze the handle like you see in the picture, and it tells you how many pounds or kilograms of pressure you're putting into it. Here is one study titled Hand Grip Strength: Normative Reference Values and Equations for Individuals 18 to 85 years of age residing in the United States. Again, here are the averages for men between ages 60 and 85, and here are the averages for women, ages 60 to 85. Again, if you want, pause the video and see how do you compare. If you don't go to the gym, you can actually buy one of these devices from Amazon, and the link is included in the description below. It's called a hand grip dynamometer. Now, what does it mean if you're below average? Well, you use your grip strength for a lot of things. It's not really a gym muscle. It's not something people typically train, and yet its impact on your daily life is quite significant. You need grip strength to be able to open jars. For example, they need to be able to open their medications, and that's what they need grip strength. For other people, having good grip strength can literally be life-saving. If you're falling, you're going to grab on to whatever you can to prevent yourself from falling, to catch yourself. If you can grab on, but you can't hold on, you'll fall. And if you fall, you break a bone, et cetera, et cetera. You know the vicious cycle that we discussed a little bit earlier. Now, what can you do about it if your grip strength is below average? That's another thing you can stay tuned for, which we'll talk about at the end of the video. Next, aerobic endurance test. So here is how aerobic endurance, your heart, is tested. It's called the 6-minute walk test, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You see how far you can walk in 6 minutes. Now, this is a walk on the ground, not on a treadmill. So what does the data look like? Here is the data for men ages 60 to 89, and here is the data for women ages 60 to 89. Again, if you want, pause this video, do the test either now or later, and see how far you can go and how do you compare to the average man or woman of your age. Now, what does it mean if you're below average? Well, this is a test of aerobic endurance. Aerobic endurance is how well your heart beats. If you're below average, it means you have less time left to live. Not only do you have less time, those final years will be lower quality years. You'll be able to engage in less travel. You can't be as social. You won't be able to go out with your friends and family as much. You can't play with your grandkids who have much better mobility. It'll increase your risk of developing chronic diseases, because if you don't have the capacity to move around, not just exercise, but just do general movement like housework, gardening, etc., you won't be burning the calories. You'll have dysregulation with your blood sugar, blood pressure, etc. You'll need more medications. You'll have lower energy levels, and more of your time will be spent in hospitals. Is that really the way that you want to spend those last few years? And for a lot of seniors, that's not the case. Now, another test, another very important one, is the ability to get up from the floor. Here is one study titled Concurrent and Predictive Validity of Getting Up from Lying on the Floor. Here were the results. In that study, women who couldn't get off the floor were 270% more likely to have an injury compared to women who were able to get off the floor. Why such a significant difference? Because the ability to get off the floor combines flexibility with strength, and that's called mobility. If you're able to get off the floor, that's great. If you're able to get off the floor without using your hands, that's even better. But if you're not able to get off the floor, that's a serious health hazard. Now, what can you do if you can't get off the floor? The most obvious thing is get your muscles strong enough and get your muscles mobile enough to be able to get off the floor. The way you do that is with strength training. Especially the two most important exercises for your ability to get off the floor are exercises for lower body strength, like squats and lunges. If you can't do squats and lunges because either your joints hurt or you can't get down all the way, there are ways of modifying it in order to be able to do that, although that is beyond the scope of this particular video. You also need to test your upper body strength. The way that's tested is with what's called the biceps curl test. And the way you do this test is men grab a 5-pound dumbbell, women grab a 4-pound dumbbell, and you curl it as many times as you can in 30 seconds. Here are the normative data for men. You can pause this video if you want to compare how you're doing. And here are the normative data for women. And again, you can pause this to see how you compare to, are you below average, average, or above average? What does it mean if you're below average? It means that you'll have problems with basic activities of daily living that require upper body strength, such as carrying groceries, doing basic housework, and so on. What can you do about it if you do have below average upper body strength? Well, the obvious thing is, well, strength training, especially upper body strength exercises. However, there's a specific way to do strength training to get stronger, and more details are coming in a second. Now, if you're wondering, what about flexibility tests like the sit and reach test where you're reaching towards your toes, or the shoulder scratch test where you put a palm behind your back and see how far up you can go? The thing with those tests, with flexibility tests, is there's very little relationship between your ability to perform well on those tests and your quality of life. So whether or not they have an impact seems to be in favor of they don't really have much of an impact other than it's cool to say you can do those things. Um, so if on any of these tests, whether that's the sit to stand test, the 6-minute walk test, and so on, what can you do if you're below average? There are a bunch of different options. Option one, you can watch a lot of videos on YouTube, and there's plenty of those out there. In fact, I even have one about strength training for people over 60. And if you want, check that out on your screen right now or in the description below. Option two, like I said, we specialize in this stuff, my team and I. We help older adults get stronger, more mobile, and reverse chronic conditions. So option two is you can have us design your exercise program for you to follow on your own. This way, on your own or with us. This way, you don't have to worry about effectiveness if what you're doing is the right thing, and you don't have to worry about safety, whether or not you'll get hurt doing it. So again, if you want somebody to hand this to you on a platter, either click on the link on the description or go to www.fitnesssolutions+.ca. When you fill out the application form, there's going to be a no pressure, about a 10 or 15-minute phone call or Zoom call to see if we can help you. If we can, great, we'll let you know. If we can't, no problem. There's not going to be any high pressure sales. Okay. So again, click on the link on your in the description or go to www.fitnesssolutions+.ca.